stages of blessings. Verse 22. Vayatech misham vayachor be'acheret velo ravu aleha. So then he continued, and this is interesting. This word also means entreated. Like, remember when he entreated Hashem that Rivka could get pregnant? But in this case, this is a homograph, written the same, but means something different. This means he continued on. He pressed on. He pressed on Misham from there. So this shows he really didn't want to leave, but he's trying to get away from these Philistines. And he dug another well, and they did not fight over it. And he called its name Rechavot. Why do you call it Rechavot? What's the reason? He has a reason for everything. Rechavot means wide open spaces. La, 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 da, 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 da. So you can check out that Dixie Chick song if you want. Wide open spaces. Vayomer, and he called, and he said, Yata, for now, Yechiv. Adonai, for now Adonai has made wide, Lanu Farinu Varetz, for us, and he's made us be fruitful in the land. Verse 23. And so he went up from there to Be'er-sheva, but it changes because in ancient Hebrew, well, at least in the Bible, one or two words, depending on how long the verse is, they would get a special accent. It's kind of strange. This is lost in modern Hebrew today. So what that meant is when you'd be reading a sentence or reciting a sentence, one of those words, at least, maybe two, would be stronger than the rest. So the way this would have been read in ancient times, something like Vayal Misham Be'er Shava. I'm exaggerating a bit, but it's like that. So the Sheva became Shava because it gets so much attention. So in case you're wondering why do the vowels on a word change when nothing's happening to the word, that's why. And this helped people to memorize the text, right, by doing it like this. Vayeraha elahav Adonai balalahu vayomer Anochi Elohei Avraham Avicha Al tira ki etcha anochi v'achticha v'habeti et zaracha v'avur Avraham avdi. When Abraham saw him, oh, I'm sorry, no. Then Abraham appeared to him. This is Nephal. Hebrew students see the Terry. Then Abraham appeared to him, in that night. And he said, Abraham Avicha, I am the God of Abraham your father. Al tira, don't fear, because I'm with you. And I will bless you. And I will make you numerous, et zaracha, your offspring. But on account of Abraham Avdi, Abraham my servant. So it's back all the way up here to 23. I forgot to give you my note concerning him going up to Be'er-sheva. The Rashbam comments that from there he went up to Be'er-sheva. He was still afraid of them, of the Philistines, as is proved by the Lord's telling him, Al tira, fear not. Anochi Elohei Avraham Avicha, I am the God of your father Abraham, and my providence extends to you on his account more than on your own. Gersonides. Tony comments that their argument was the well is yours, but the water is ours. Ooh, right. Good point. That's right. Yeah, they were very technical about it. Fine, the land is yours, but the house is mine. Get out of the house. Right? Yeah, well put. We see the same argument happening today. Some of the Islamic countries surrounding Israel complain that Israel takes from the water supply and it reduces the water that flows downstream. Those in Lebanon, what do you say, Lebanonians? What's the pull of that? What do you call Lebanese? Okay, and it's the same singular and plural, right? He's Lebanese, they are Lebanese. Okay, yeah, it's a weird word. Okay, so the Lebanese, they tried to build a dam to control the water that goes down to Israel, right? The water is ours. I'm glad you brought that up, Tony. The water is ours. The river's yours. The riverbed is yours, but the water is ours. What did Israel do? Dispatched F-16s and blew that thing up. You don't get to claim the water. Libnani. There you go. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. You don't get to do that. Do not fear, for I am with you. Really, he says it like Yoda. For with you I am. That's what it says. Ki itecha anochi. Nachmanides comments, fear not, for I am with you. Remember that Avimelekh had expelled him out of Qimchi, out of jealousy, and that the shepherds of Gerar had quarreled with him. He was afraid they would assemble against him and attack him and his household. The Holy One promised him that he need not be afraid. Okay, verse 25. Vayiven sham mizbeach, vayikah b'shem Adonai, vayet sham aholo. Then he built there an altar, and he called in the name of Adonai. Vayet sham aholo, and he pitched there his tent. Vaychru sham avdei Yitschaq be'er. And they dug there, Yitzchak's servants dug there a well. Verse 26. Avimelekh halach elav migrar. Now Avimelekh went to him from migrar. So this is later, right? Later. He just kicked him out. It's not like you just kicked him out and then he went there. Stuff happens in between. Va'achuzat mere'ehu ufichol sar tzva'o. Okay, and achuzat, his this is probably like counselor, friend. It comes from the root friend, but it's probably like a counselor, advisor. I might change my translation. This is from my book a few years back, Genesis Look Again, but I think I might say, instead of friend, I might say his counselor. I've learned a bit more since then. And yeah, it does say friend, but in this context, this special, instead of just saying Ra'ehu, it's Me'ehu. This particular word, Me'ereya, this is usually, it's a rare word, but it's like a counselor. Someone who's a friend with the king might not just be friends. He's probably friends because he counsels him. And Fichol, this is this guy's name, the head of his army. Verse 27. Vayomar alehem Yitzchak. So Yitzchak said to them, Madua batem elai. Why'd you guys come to me? Vatem saneitem oti. I love how Yitzchak is a straight shooter. Because you guys hate me. Tishalachuni, and you expelled me me'itechem, from being with you guys. 28. Vayomru ra'ol ra'inu ki haya Adonai imach. Because we indeed saw that Adonai is with you. So we said, Tehina Allah binotenu. So let's now make an oath between us, Beinenu, between us, Uvenecha, and between you. Sorry, the first part said Beinotenu, between our children, between us and between you. Okay. So let us make a covenant with you. Verse 29. If you are to do some kind of with us a bad thing to us, according to how we have not touched you, and according to how we have done with you, but only good, and then let us well, since we have expelled you, we've sent you out. The shalom ata, okay, in peace. Ata, okta, you now, Baruch Adonai, blessed be Adonai. Okay, so let's look at this purple word I have here. Im, the syntax is a little bit difficult there. So im does not always literally mean if. It is often used in oath formula. So even though I said if here, it's there in the Torah because it's like implying we're going to make an oath. All right, we're going to make a solemn oath. And since we haven't touched you, so basically they're making the argument that we didn't really hate you. We haven't harmed you bodily. The point is that even though Yitzchak Avinu accuses them of hatred, their counterclaim is that they did not hate him, as evidenced by the fact that they did not attack him. And that when they sent him out, they're claiming not, then we sent you out b'shalom, peacefully. Right? We didn't like kick you in your tuchas as you walked out. So what is Yitzchak's response? And we can learn from this. Waiting for the microphone. If those Philistines who you previously left or who drove you out in your life have a change of heart, they see your life, those who made fun of you for becoming a Jew, they see that you're really blessed now. You're not the same person you used to be, and they want that they come to you and they want to have peace with you, the proper response is to have peace. And this is what our Father does. Our ancestor does this. What's he do? Vayas lahem mishteh. He made for them a drinking feast. Vayochelu vayishtu. So they ate and they drank. By the way, this Hebrew word for feast, for those of you who listen to my Esther translation, you'll know this already. Mishteh, the root is shata, which means to drink. So whenever you see this word about feasting in the Hebrew, it's not just like erotai in the Greek, feasting. It implies there's drinking as well, right? It's truly a celebration. Such is the response of the righteous. When old enemies sincerely desire peace, as the psalmist writes in Psalms 120, Shalomani, I am for peace, while his enemies were for war in that psalm. How much more so when our enemies are for true peace, right? Make peace with them. Don't hold on to the grudge. Don't demonstrate God's virtues that way. Verse 31. Sit tight. We're almost done. I think 10 more minutes or so. 10, 12 minutes will be done. Very close. Vayashkimu v'boker, vayishavu ish לאחיו. Then they got up early in the morning, and they swore an oath, each man to his brother. This is a Hebrew idiom. It means one to another, right? One to another. Literally, each to his brother means one another. Vayishalachem Yitschaq vayilachu me'ito b'shalom. So Yitschaq sent them out, and he went with them. He walked with them in peace. Pardon me, they walked with him in peace. Verse 32. Vahi bayom hahu vayavohu avdei Yitschaq vayagidu lo al odot habe'er asher chafar. Now it happened on that day. Not doing this with the microphone. It's just there's a USB connection issue. So the cable just sometimes decides it's not going to have any more. So, all right. So this is important. When did this happen? On that day, Bayom Hahu, on that very day that he made peace with them, and they walked with him peacefully. Things have changed. What happens? Vayavo of the Yitzhak servants, they came to him, Vayagidulo, and they told him all odot concerning Habe'er, the well, Asher Chafur, which they dug. Vayamrulo Matsanu Mayim, and they said to him, we found water. We found water on that very day. The sage Qimchi asserts that this occurred while Avimelech's entourage was still there. Remember, Hashem does things for multiple reasons sometimes. When the Messiah Yeshua casts out the demons called Legion from the man who lived in the graveyard, what was he doing? He's freeing the man. He's making the pathway, the road that goes by the graveyard, accessible again. He's destroying the pig farmers' livestock and punishing the pig farmers for tempting Israel. He's doing all of these things at once. It's not just a one simple thing. Oftentimes, God's purposes are multidimensional. And so Qimchi's assertion is true, but there could be more going on here. I believe there's more. It's not just for them, it's for Yitschaq also, right? So in this case, he's saying they're still there so that Avimelech's entourage would see Hashem's blessing of Yitschaq in action, and they would remain in awe of Yaakov, remain fearful of him. Sorry if my fan got loud. What do we do when we find water? Name the place, take a wife, build a house. This is what we see what happens with Yaakov. Verse 33. Vayikra ota Siva. So he called it Shiv'ah. Al ken shem ha'ir Be'er-sheva. Therefore, the name of the city is Be'er-sheva. Ad hayom hazeh, to this day. And that's true. There's a city in Israel, Be'er-sheva, today. Rashi comments that Shiva, he called it for Shavua, the treaty oath. This can mean lots of things. Without the consonants, it can mean an oath, it can mean 7, it can mean satisfied if we read as a seen instead of a sheen here. So Dr. Vera shares from NASB, Genesis 21, 22 through 26. Now it came about at that time that Avimelekh. Okay. So I'm just going to leave that up there. That's what we just read, so you can see it there. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Back in chapter 21. Got you. So yeah, we have Fichol in action. It now came about at that time, Avimelekh and Fichol, the commander of his army, spoke to Abraham, saying, God is with you, and all that you will do. Now therefore swear to me by God, you will not deal falsely with me, or with my offspring, or with my posterity, but according to the kindness that I have shown to you. You shall show to me, and to the land in which you have sojourned. Abraham said, I swear it. But Abraham complained to Avimelekh because the well of water which the servants of Avimelekh had seized, same spirit. And Avimelekh said, I do not know who has done this thing, and you did not tell me, nor did I hear about it until today. So it's interesting. We see this. Thanks for sharing that, Doc. We see this kind of repetition of what's happening. And remember, there's a dispute among the sages whether this is the same Avimelekh or a different one, like a descendant, because as we're told by Ibn Ezra, that this was a common name among the Philistines. Good. Animation got held up. What's going on? Let's go. There you go. I wasn't patient enough to wait for it. I don't know why it was so slow. And by the way, you see here this, again, this is a picture from my book, but you see the Samech and the Samech? Those are in the actual scrolls, those Samech. So this is actually, the actual biblical text has that stuff. And they just don't put that in the English Bibles. I guess it's a formatting issue. They should format at least there. But I guess they think it doesn't matter. Verse 34. Vayhi Eusaw ben 40 shana, vayikach isha et Yehudit, bat B'resihit. Now Eusaw was 40 years old, so he married a woman, Yehudit, the daughter of Be'eri, which is weird. The root of this name is Be'er, which means like a well, right? Hachiti, the Hittite. Ve'et Basemat, and also Basemat, the daughter of Elon, the Hittite. So he marries two Hittites. V'tichyena murat ruach leYitschaq uleRivka, and it became a bitter spirit to Yitschaq and to Rivka. So let's look at this first part. He's 40 years old. Rashi comments that Eusaw is compared to a boar. This is a kind of pig. As it is said in Psalms 80, verse 14, the boar from the wood doth ravage it. The boar, when it lies down, this is Rashi commenting, stretches forth its cloven hoof, as much as to say, see, I'm a clean animal. Whilst really cloven hooves are a feature of clean animals, only in conjunction with another than that it is lacking in the swine. In the same way, these dukes of Eusaw rob and extort and pretend to be honorable, according to B'resihit Rabbah, the midrash 65:1. For the whole 40 years, Eusaw enticed women from their husbands. Remember, we learned recently that he had raped a woman who was betrothed to another. This is before he got the birthright permanently yanked away, and ill-treated them. When he reached the age of 40, he said, my father took a wife when he was 40, and I shall do the same. You know, that we see this sometimes with people, that they have an approximation of righteousness, but really no righteousness. Like they're kind of going through the motions, and they just try to copy something they see in the Bible, or they go through some kind of ritual, thinking that the ritual in and of itself will save them, or they're a good person because they, quote, go to church or something like this. You know, they're going to mass all the time, but they're a nasty person to other people. Some Filipinos have told me this is even a stereotype of religious people here, that when someone hears you're religious, they're like, oh no, that's a nasty person. I've seen that. I've seen that. Qimchi comments, like his father, whom he was pretending to imitate, he didn't marry until he's 40, but unlike his father, he did not stay away from Canaanite women. The fact that their names are given implies that they were highborn women, whose families were thrilled to be married into the family of Yitschaq. But Yaakov did not marry without his parents' permission, even when he too was 40. All right, let's sum it up. I had some nice pictures I had drawn on top of the verses and stuff, but I was concerned things would go too long. I wanted to go back through and show you all the verses. You can see this pattern very clearly happening, but instead I just kind of did these points by memory. So if I missed one of the stages, forgive me. But I want to share the overview of the Torah portion. We did the whole Megillah, the whole Torah portion. So the time trial, there's a time of trial and a time of blessing. And it's useful to know which one you're in at the moment. So the pattern we saw in today's Torah portion was that of sowing, right? Or seeding, we could say. Whether it be investing financially, you're starting a business, You're buying cryptocurrency. By the way, these are not investment suggestions. I'm just saying examples. You're buying gold. You're buying a lot. You're getting something that you want to resell for profit, or you're investing in your own soul by doing tzedakah, or you're getting students. You're collecting students to put your time in where you could be studying to help yourself, instead you're helping them, or maybe you're going to counsel somebody, a friend in need. You're going to get them out of a wicked sect they might be stuck in. Whatever it is, that is the time of sowing seeds. And sometimes it's hard for us to realize that this time was not in vain. All we see is how slow it is growing. My goodness. We have a saying in the States, it's like watching grass grow, right? Like when you're really bored, or watching paint peel. I just remember that one. That one's better. That might just be a Southern one. Watching paint peel. You're staring at the house waiting for the paint to start peeling off, right? But the sowing will not be in vain as long as it was proper sowing. We're taught by the Messiah, the mashal of the seed that falls on stony ground, right? The seed that falls, that goes too deep, right? The seed that gets scorched by the sun, and the seed that falls on fallow ground, on good ground, right? So it's not enough just to sow. We have to have seichel, we have to have intelligence about it. You have to exercise chokhmah. So if this is a spiritual endeavor, if it's a monetary endeavor, if it's investing in your family, your time, if it's investing in your body and getting yourself in shape after COVID to make your body a temple, all these things, whatever it is that you're sowing, it's not just enough to sow. That's why the mashal comes from Yeshua. He's interpreting for us through wisdom the Torah. Yes, you must sow like our father Yitschaq does, but it has to be correct sowing. It has to be correct. You need to do it at the right time, right? You don't. If you live in a country with winter, you don't sow in the middle of winter. It's snowing outside. Okay, time to plant the grass. It's like, Dick. No. You sow in the right place, in the right time, for the right purpose, and the right kind of seed. Then you ride the wave. What I mean by this is the hardships will come. The tribulation will come. The tests will come. And again, if you're looking around, you're seeing the signs of the times, like a lot of us are, and you're wondering, is this the end starting? Let's see if Putin sends a nuke. If he uses tactical nukes, I'm going to be a lot closer to thinking we're in the end now. But let's see. When you're looking and you're thinking it might be the end, and some of you want to be prepared and some don't. There's still some people who are post-tribulationists. You hang on to this fantasy that God is going to take up his church in an instant. And in that instant, when he takes them up, after that, the suffering comes. A close reading of Revelation chapter 6, Dr. Dwayne was sharing this with me recently, his experience with this, and he's teaching on the post-tribulation position with an outreach he's doing in Bible study with some non-Torah keepers, right? And, there's some people on the fence, and I think it's post-trib, and I just want to tell you, I don't have time to go through this right now and make all the arguments, but you're living in a dream world, Neo, okay? Time to take the red pill. If we are alive when the tribulation is going to start, we're going to have to live through that tribulation, and you must be prepared for that moment. So when you sow your seeds, when you make your investments, when you think how to spend your time, I was impressed. I think it was last year. Dan told me that he's collecting all these midrashes and things for study, and he wants to have them available on like an external hard drive or something, so that in the future, when there's no internet, we can still have access to those study materials. See, this is an example of preparing spiritually so that you can keep studying when the tribulation comes. It's not all shotguns and foodstuffs, right? I mean, that's part of it. But we need to also be prepared to how we can keep studying, how our families can thrive, how we can move, how we can survive spiritually. So the tribulation, whether it be the tribulation or just tribulations in your life, they're going to happen. Then when you pass the test, it is success. And this is kind of this pattern here is a macro pattern. What I mean by that is it's micro and macro. It's true on a very small scale. We can pick finances. We can pick spirituality. We can pick exercise and taking care of your body, right? We can pick eating good foods, right, and avoiding disease, right? Preventative medicine, right? We can pick, investing time in children so that they still want to be around you. You know, the cat's in the cradle in the silver spoon, you know, whatever, all that stuff. It applies to every single facet in life. Investing in your own personal growth, right? Studying Hebrew, whatever it is, you know, actually buying a Bible that you like to hold in your hands, right? To set yourself up to win. All those things apply, but also on a macro level with the judgment that we undergo for what God has given us. He has given us faith. And the question is, what do we do with that faith? Are we sowing it? Are we growing? Are we investing? Are we living like heaven is a real place? Or do we bury it in the ground? And my friends, the rewards will be reaped from that. As the brother of the Messiah, someone who grew up with him, says, can such a faith save a man? So then comes our success, whether it be riches, whether it be fluency in a biblical language, whether it be getting a significant other who actually likes you, whether it be having a nice house, whether it be having healthy children, whether it be being able to bench press 200 pounds, whether it be entrance to Olam Haba. Micro and macro, the example of Yitzchak's life in this Torah portion, this section of his life, it works on all levels. It's interdimensional in its application. And after all that, the Philistines still come and they try to bury the well. There's still going to be jealousy because of the success. Before this, it's trying to keep us from success. After that, it's jealousy towards the success. Your friends and your family, it's not all about money. You know, there's more to life than money. Yeah, I know. When have I ever talked to you? So these attacks are going to come because they will be jealous of your success, whatever it may be. You have a nice singing voice. You wrote a great praise and worship song, whatever it is. At that time, we recenter. We recenter. We have to set ourselves. We have to change our position, change our attack, adjust our strategies. Yitschaq, he left the Philistines. There's outward jealousies. Continue. You can just kind of keep this cycle repeating. This can keep happening for different people. And then we must redirect. Redirect. In the case of spiritual things, we redirect to Hashem. We redirect it all to him. Even when you have achieved your success, when you've gotten fluent in that language, you've gotten your $1 million, you've gotten your house built, your children are geniuses, your body is a temple, you know, you're an Adonis, your body's an Adonis, right? Whatever. Whenever you've succeeded at whatever you've done, redirect the glory to Hashem. It's to Hashem. And we'll have that relationship where he will say to us, Al tiraki itacha anochi. Do not fear, for I myself am with you. Avimelekh, תודה לך לכל תלמידיי שיש פה עכשיו. תודה לך לשבוע הבא. כן יהי רצון כי בשבוע הזאת אנחנו יכולים ללמוד טוב בעיניך. תיתן בבקשה במאי לנו, כי אנחנו נחיה ראש בעולם הזה. תשמור נא אותנו את רוחותינו, אדוני, כי אנחנו אוהבים אותך. לכל הדברים האלה, אנחנו נברכך בזכות ישוע המשיח. שבוע טוב, everybody. Have a great week. Make sure to check in with our various learning activities. And go to the Midot at 2 p.m. on Wednesdays that Avi's doing, the intercession and Midot lesson. Check it out. It's good to have that introspection. We must all be growing, because if we don't grow, we die. Go ahead. Shavua tov. Shavua tov. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you, Rob.
Very welcome.
Thank
God bless.
you.
Be well.
Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you.
You're welcome. Shavua tov. Shavua tov. God bless.
Hey, this is the end of this Drash segment. Thanks for watching. Please support this ministry. If you'd like to stand with us financially, you can visit patreon.com at the address on the screen and sign up for a monthly or one-time donation. We would be very thankful for having your support. And join the conversation at t.me/messianic chat. All kinds of chats about messianic topics happen over there with over 50 people. All glory to Adonai. Kol kavod l'Adonai.